Episode 5.
We're talking about sex. And clearly, we're not the Virgin Mary over here. Y'all see I'm pregnant, right? So I also think that I hate how married couples and talking about sex is so taboo, especially growing up in the church. Even with married couple, that's not something that they really prepared us for. I had a grandmother, she was disgusted. So she would just say anything. My great grandmother, she would just say anything.
About to say, dang, Nana.
No.
I can't imagine Nana like that. But
Lou.
no, her great grandma for real though.
She is, Thelma Lou is disgusting. So she made sure we knew about it. But babe, when you like, especially for women, like, you know, sometimes it can be kind of like shy and coy. It's like, girl, we know what you're doing. Is it the same for men?
Like, to be shy about it?
Yes.
Like, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's not some, I would say with older like guys, it's, well, I would just say it depends on who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't find myself like, you know, when I'm around my married friends, I may crack a joke or two or something like that, but we never like go into detail or nothing like that. Like, it's like, yeah, she had a little attitude that needed to be fixed. Like, it's stuff like that that
Well, I think I have a little attitude now.
It's stuff like that that we will joke around and stuff like that about, but never like, you know, it's never a need to feel shy or coy. I'm proud of the woman that I have and that I am blessed with the blessing to make love to her, so.
To kick it off, I think we have to go back to beginning and start, you know, with where our ideas of sex came from, right? And I know that you started to romanticize sex a lot sooner than I did. So talk about like what switched in your mind that says, oh, this isn't just an act to be done, but it is an act to be done with your wife.
When it came to those experiences with women that I was in relationships with or not, like, it was always that, like, I always felt like it was supposed to be more. And I would start to find out by just paying attention to the details, like, oh, my boys don't know this. Like, I quickly found myself like, okay, I care. Like, I care about a lot more than what this experience is supposed to be right now with this particular type of person. And that's what just made me dive deeper. And, you know, once you realize like, okay, when you're with your person, like, you know, all bets are off. Like, you just become this person that just wants to, you know, make sure your partner has everything that they could possibly need or want in this world. And when you're not, you know, it's kind of like, oh, I'm just doing this because...
Scratch an itch?
Yeah, scratch an itch. Like, I think this is what I want to do, so this is what I'm going to do. And, you know, you're doing it, or the pressures of, well, I know that they were sexually active with their previous partner. I don't want to be cheated on because I'm not willing to have sex with her, even though that was something that was a part of her. Like, you know, once it's introduced and stuff like that, unless that person is true and can be trusted in that sense, like, it's hard to dial that back. So, you know, that advice to my younger self would be, don't involve yourself in that. Like, take that out of the equation and really get to know them in and out.
I feel like my experience was the exact opposite. Like, for so long, like, I was scared of being pregnant, LOL. So in my head, if I kissed a boy, oh my God, I'm gonna be pregnant with twins. So I didn't really exercise like sex and stuff like that early, but when I finally did, I was like, this is it. Like, and so with that being said, like, to me, sex was never a necessity. So I didn't treat it like one. And so I think that was kind of my introduction of how I viewed sex. It wasn't a necessity, or if it was, you know, we're just told, there's an old saying, always make sure your husband leaves the house with a full stomach.
Crazy. I
And some
think we already know the saying.
A full stomach and some empty nuts. And to me, like, that's how the old folks did it. It wasn't something that was meant to be enjoyed by the woman. It was something that the woman did to serve her husband. Yeah.
We had sex before we got married.
Yeah.
But we knew going forward, okay, we need to try our best not to have sex. And that didn't look perfect either. Like, there were times we would still slip up and fall into that. So again, trying to be better. We want to make sure that we are putting that message out there. Like, there's perfection, and then there's seeking the kingdom. You're seeking the kingdom, and I found my partner to seek the kingdom. None of that. And so we weren't, again, it's all in one space. So,
look at you. Yeah. Like, I just love seeing you talk about these things because
I don't like talking about this publicly. Like, don't get me wrong.
It's not something that we do like regularly. And I think my family was a lot open about that, like
versus mine.
Versus yours.
Yeah, like my mom, I remember she bought me like, I don't even remember the count, but it was like this ridiculous box of condoms when I was in high school. Like, had to be like a sophomore or a junior, I don't remember. But, well, she bought me this box, and at first she was like, oh, I'm thinking she bought them for me, not like, I don't think about my mama having,
being intimate, right?
Yeah, and so, should I use them? And she was like, where the hell all these condoms go? And I said, Mom, what you bought them for? They teach you what sex is and health, but they don't teach you sex.
Right.
And like, what's okay, what's like all of those things. And so young boys find out, and girls find out about porn. Make sure y'all watching your kids.
Right.
Like,
because that's a big thing in pornography. Like, again, nothing is new. Things like this have been around since the beginning of time. It's just there's more access to it. And I will say, sex in marriage is so much different from pornography. And I think that pornography jades and cheats you out of the true intimacy, sexual intimacy that you get with your partner, because it makes it routine, it makes it fake. There's so many theatrics to it, and so you think you have to perform like this and all of these things, and it's not, when it's really about the connection with your partner.
Like you said, that was a part of your view on sex. It's either a chore and theatric. So you combine it and you like, oh, okay, so I just make these sounds until he done making sounds, and we done. She was so like, hand me the wrench. Hey, give me some oil. All right, crank it up. Give it some gas. All right, here we go. And I was like, I have made the executive decision not to go too deep in some of our early
sexual
experiences and conversations, but that pace, that move, it mimicked porn.
Correct.
And for me, I had already, like I said, I already knew, like, that's not real. Let me show you something that's for real. And then when she saw that side, she was like, oh, damn, this how this is. That's what, no, I want it like that.
I just didn't think you would notice. Because sex was not a necessity for me, the goal was just to do it, just so we could go ahead and get it done.
She was stroking egos.
So, exactly.
Similar to myself, like, there were times I knew, like, this ain't it, but I'm
already here.
I'm already here.
That is so accurate, though. I think that comes to expectations, though. Like you said, it's okay to talk about sex when it comes to what are your sex expectations. And when you get married, and yes, things change when you get married, but it doesn't have to be for the bad. Like, you have to think about it. You have two people that go to two jobs that have responsibilities. Don't let y'all have a kid. So now you have different responsibilities. And so the expectation may change depending on what season you're going through.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to sex expectations and expectations, that's something that we have had to talk about continuously. So as a man, I know that you have had experiences where men tell you, oh shoot, things change once you get married. Yeah. So talk about that and how you combat that in those voices in your head.
Definitely. That's the early advice I received was, once you get married, y'all aren't gonna be as intimate. And again, those men, with what I know now, we're probably viewing intimacy as y'all not finna be having sex.
Yeah.
Other stuff is going out the window too. When we first announced our pregnancy, like now, you know, she's gonna be nursing this and that. Like, you ain't gonna never, everything's gonna be about the baby, and you know, y'all aren't gonna be doing none of that stuff anymore. You gotta defeat that porn first,
right,
before you even get married. I'll be honest with you, and there's some married men that still struggle with it, but you know, continue to fight the good fight.
Yes.
and get that out of your head, because that's not love.
It also takes away your backup plan too, because we have defeated and made porn not an option in our marriage at all. There is no backup. So it forces either you to come up or me to come up and say, hey, this is something that I need. And I think it forces you to do that instead of running to a plan B and letting things get out of hand.
Definitely. And that's very important. So hearing all of those negative things, like I wanted to make sure that that's not something that we had to go through, and I wanted to make sure my wife was aware of the things that I was hearing. Not even if I would share with her who I hear them from.
Yeah.
Like, I would just want her to know, like, hey, I don't want us to be this way.
Yeah.
And it's not from a selfish place.
Right.
I know what my wife needs. Even when,
right,
you know, she like, I'm too tired, I'm this and that. I'm like, you ain't gotta do nothing, I'm gonna take care of you. Like, I still know what she needs. Sex and sexpectations, a word that we got from attending a marriage retreat where Jimmy Rollins and his wife Irene,
so good,
you know, they sat down on stage and they were transparent, and so transparent that, like, I understood in that moment the importance of being vulnerable when I heard from the other men on the stage, like, you know, this is something I struggle with, and it kind of prepared me for this baby. That's when you rely on what episode 4 talked about, actual intimacy.
Sexual intimacy is one version, but it's many ways to be intimate with a partner, to let them know I'm still in love with you. I still think you're attractive. I still want to jump your bones, even though I may not be able to because something is jumping on my cervix. Yeah. Like, I still love that about you. And one of the things that Jimmy Rollins and his wife said that we put into practice was the rule about the initiation. Like, if one person initiates sex, the other person doesn't necessarily have the capacity. The other person has 24 hours to initiate back. Now, for some couples that may be 48, for some couples that may be 72. But I like that because it doesn't put all of the pressure on the other person to come back and initiate and to feel rejection over and over.
As a man, I'm telling you, this is legit for my fellas. I was with someone, every time I try to initiate and I get turned away, or, you know, oh, go to sleep, or, you know, it's time, and I'm tired, and I did this, I did that. Like, it got to the point where I'm like, okay, so I need to do things to make this. And this is stuff for someone who's not my wife.
Right.
So imagine, you know, from a woman's perspective, I'm having to do this for somebody that's not my husband.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna not only pay all the bills, I'm gonna clean up everything, I'm gonna make sure everything's squared away, this and that, all of that. And then you come home late and you ain't trying to do nothing before bed. I waited too long, I waited right until it's time to go to sleep. Like, that's not a good feeling, which is why you should wait until you're with your partner, where y'all can have conversations about sex expectations and how many times per week, if it truly comes down to that.
Especially in a marriage, you should not make anybody work for physical affection or sexual attention or anything like that. So there was nothing that you could do that was like, oop, he checked this box, so now I can go ahead and give him a little something. Like, no, it shouldn't be like that. But because then it becomes also like you feel like if you don't do those things, am I worthy? And you're always worthy if you married the person, like, obviously. So I'm glad that you shared that.
With postpartum as well, like I said, I've had people give me horror stories about postpartum, and, you know, in my opinion, the war that my wife has just endured to have our child, if it took a year, like, I am comfortable in myself and I know my wife is confident in her husband and knowing that she has an expectation, like, I'm good. Like, I'm gonna roll with my wife and stick with my wife because that's what I signed up to do. Again, fellas, if you're not ready for that, don't sign up for marriage.
And as a woman too, I also feel like a lot of men think it's what you guys do that makes us sexually attracted to you. And don't get me wrong, for some women it is, right? But for the average woman and majority of women, it is not what you do, but it's how you lead. You come in the house, you've been working all day, we have a conversation, you ask me about my day, you speak my love language, we get together, we are able to pray together, you talking your God talk, you talking about finances, you are speaking life into this house and into this family, we got this, look at how blessed we are on a roll spiritually. Like, honestly, that makes us feel secure enough to open up. And I think that a lot of men, like, you guys need to hear that because it is a stigma that, oh my gosh, I gotta go to work, I gotta grind because my wife wants. But actually, we want your leadership. And that is sexy as hell. First off, did you know that before?
No, I didn't know that before because it was always, my man got to do this, my man got to do that, and he need to this, and that. And, you know, that was hard for me. And so I used to, like most men, only value myself as far as my wallet could take me. Men, I know how you may be feeling hearing a woman say those things. Continue to seek it, man. And if you ain't found it, it's out there. You can't have mine, but it's out there.
And ladies, I would, if you have a husband and you have not expressed that to him, that is amazing for him to know. Because just like you heard my husband say, he didn't know that beforehand. And so while you were complaining he did not give you any time, well, he is working so much to make sure you have what you need, and he is thinking that he is doing what you want. So it's not a matter of if he loves you or not, he is just trying to love you in a way that society has told him he should love you, and maybe not in the way that you actually require from him, which is big.
You may have realistic expectations for your husband, and he has a long list plus a notebook, an iPad, and sticky notes of things that he has to have in order for you to be happy.
Correct.
With the first thing being, why in the hell don't I have $1.5 million? We try to carry so much because we want to be better than anything that we saw, or we want to live up to anything that we saw. Right. So it's like, whatever those expectations are, we want to exceed them at all times. You know, everywhere we go, we're told, you know, oh, men ain't this, men ain't that. All these men are sorry. One wrong move and I'm in that category. Like, that's how we treat all of that.
Listen, you don't have to do that. Give me a kiss. I think the last thing before we go, and this may seem kind of crazy, but it's just to invite God into your sex life.
Oh, yeah.
I know that before I got a husband, I would actually, and Dondrei, I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but before I got a husband, I asked God to give me someone where we matched not only sexual energy, but that we were equally yoked when it came to sex. Now, again, it took a learning curve to get to that point. We had to learn each other, but I think praying and asking God, like, if you feel like your partner has a bit more stamina or wants it more, then you have the capacity for praying and saying, hey, God, you gave me this partner to build up, to serve, and for them to serve me. Help me have the desire to want to serve my partner in this way. That way it is organic and it's not just like, okay, I got some more energy, come on, but your attitude's thing. Being frank, we have had some of our best sexual escapades before we have prayed, before we went into our bedroom. Talk about that.
And this is something we got from the Rollins as well.
Yeah.
To pray prior to having sex. God, get the same way before, when you wake up in the morning and you're not ready for that 8-hour shift, God, give me the strength.
Right.
Give me the wisdom. Give me the peace of mind to make it through this work day.
Yeah.
Like when you are, you know, short on your bills, God, I don't know how you gonna do it, but I know you gonna do it. Like all of those different things where you call upon your faith for it. Like when you are married, call upon God to give you everything you need to supply your wife with what she needs.
Or your husband,
Or your
same. It's a
husband, like,
two-prayer thing.
Yes. God, help us be equally yoked when it comes to this space. Like, especially for people who are completely waiting until they get married.
Right.
Like, I'm nervous, God. I don't know how to approach this situation. Yeah. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna know enough for her, or if she gonna know enough for me, or if I'm gonna know enough for him. All of that stuff. Yeah. Pray on that and watch how you come out on the other end. Like, it sounds crazy, it sounds cliche, but again, having a real relationship with God, you want God to bless every aspect of your marriage.
We forgot that God created man and woman to be fruitful and multiply and to join together. So why wouldn't he bless it if you were trying to do what he purposed you, what one of your purposes is on this earth? Why wouldn't he bless that? He's like, shoot, I thought nobody would ask. Let me go ahead and add a little razzle dazzle.
That's episode 5 out of the way. Make sure you go back and watch episode 4, because life, marriage, and everything is not all about sex. Appreciate y'all for watching another episode. Y'all know the drill. Like, comment, and subscribe. All of that good influencer stuff.
We're about to go have sex. Married sex.